Thank you for joining on CoreTV News at 4. I am Frank Omalape, and here are some of the reports we're filing at this time. Nigeria's military authorities say troops have retaken the strategic northeast town of Baga from Boko Haram insurgents. The town, located on the fringes of Lake Chad, was the base of the multinational joint task force until recently, when insurgents took over the community alongside the military base. But Defense Headquarters on Saturday said through its Twitter feed that soldiers have pushed out the terrorists after a fierce battle. It noted that Boko Haram suffered heavy casualties and added that mopping up operations are ongoing in the community and surrounding areas. A large number of Boko Haram insurgents have drowned in the Lake Chad as they fled the heavy bombardment by Nigerian Air Force heralding the advance of troops on mission to flush them out of Baga. Though the number of the dead terrorists was not given, it was said that many of them met their Waterloo as they fled the aerial attacks by NAF jets on Baga, the location of a multinational joint task force base seized by the sect in January 2015. A statement by the Director of Defense Information, Chris Olukolade in Abuja, said the insurgents had buried landmines in over 1,500 spots on the routes leading to the town. He said all the landmines were skillfully cleared one after the other, noting that the mining of the grounds could not save the terrorists from the aggressive move of advancing troops. Olukolade said as apart from the 5 anti-aircraft guns and the rifles captured from the terrorists, over 34 motorcycles and 5 vehicles, including trucks being used for operations by the terrorists, were destroyed in the course of the fighting as troops headed for Baga, noting that the troops finally began clearing the terrorists on arrival in the town early Saturday morning. And as the Nigerian military and the government forces of neighboring countries continue to gain momentum in an attempt to flush out Boko Haram insurgents, the Ijaw Youth Council worldwide has cautioned against any possible ceasefire or peace negotiation. The Udengs Eradiri-led Ijaw Youth Council contend that any idea of negotiation or peace move from the Boko Haram insurgents or their sympathizers must be resisted. The group's position is contained in a statement issued by the spokesman, Eric Omare. The group calls on the federal government of Nigeria and the governments of neighboring Chad, Cameroon and Benin Republic not to relent in the ongoing war without flushing out of the Boko Haram insurgents. It commended the effort of the Nigerian Armed Forces and the Joint National Forces for the successes recorded so far in the ongoing war against insurgency in the northeast of Nigeria. The group, however, sympathized with the families of those who had paid the ultimate price in the crucial national assignment. And our President Goodluck Jonathan has continued his consultation towards the 2015 general elections in Lagos with a meeting with the Council of Obas in the Ekpe division of Lagos State at the Palace of Alara of Ilara, Akim Popola Adesanya in Ilara. The president was speaking at the Alara's place, says the Nigerian military will recapture all territories held by the Boko Haram terror group within the next few weeks. The president also promised to complete all ongoing projects, including those at the conception stage, if he is re-elected. Our correspondent Kazim Kasali's report is presented from our studios.
The president, who arrived by helicopter from his commissioning of a rehabilitated section of the Egbin power plant, and was accompanied on the trip by the top brass of his party, says his presence and that of the party's top echelon shows the party's respect for the traditional institutions. He added that the trip is also aimed at bringing governors closer to the people, while also adding that the issue of holding of territory by the Boko Haram terror group will soon be over.
Especially the issue of terror. At least we've been telling Nigerians that we have some limitation, but now we can say that at least we equip our armed forces with excellent that we can contain the terror. And we say that we should watch out what will happen in the next 2 weeks. God willing, we will take over all our territories that are in the hands of
On the general elections, the president says his re-election will see to the continued advancement of Nigeria and also the completion of all ongoing projects, including those at the conception stage. He urges the traditional institution to continue to support him and also bless him ahead of the presidential election.
Most of them gone to almost terminal level. A lot of them progressed. We believe that by giving the opportunity for the next 4 years, most of this will be gone.
Responding on behalf of the Obas, Oloja of Ekpe, Hamaruddin, and Imashao says the traditional institution will continue to support government at all levels, but also asks that the president bring more development to the division.
One of our problems in the Ekpe division is about the electricity. We are far behind electricity problems in this division, because like I said, it's a very big problem in this division. We have no time, months, years. In fact, I said 4 years. We would like to president assist us to this. Because when there's no light, there is no any business that can move within the vision.
The Alara of Ilara, Hakim Adesoyan, later blessed the president for the elections. Earlier, chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Adamu Muazu, said the party will always respect the traditional institution, irrespective of class.
President Goodluck Jonathan also met with the Alafi of Oyo, Lamidi Adeyemi, and the Shehu of Ogbomoso, and after his earlier meeting with the Ekpe Divisional Council of Oba. While speaking at the Palace of the Shehu of Ogbomoso, President Jonathan says he will complete all ongoing projects in Ogbomoso. He asked the monarch Jumo Oyewumi to hand over the leads to the Minister of State Jumoke Akijide, promising to attend to them between now and the end of the elections. Jonathan said while his administration has done much and continues to do so, it will consolidate on its achievements if he is re-elected in March. He listed the areas his administration has transformed to include agriculture, education, power, and health, among others. He said only the People's Democratic Party government can implement the report of the National Conference, while other parties will lock it up inside a cupboard. The president reiterated his position that with his administration's power reforms and full privatization of the sector, Nigerians will take power supply for granted within the next few years. And as the general elections fast approaches, various political divides have continued to converge votes for their presidential candidate. Not left behind the race is Nigeria's Minister of State for Education, Viola Omolere, who believes re-election bid of President Goodluck Jonathan is welcomed by the people of Imo State despite the overwhelming popularity APC in the state. Despite scathing remarks by Governor Roches Okrocha on the low performance of President Goodluck Jonathan in the state, Omolere is convinced of the PDP presidential candidate victory in the state, as she points out various projects executed in the state under Goodluck Jonathan's administration. She assures victory for President Goodluck Jonathan as posed, even as she described him as a good gift from God to Nigeria.
His image has not been spoiled anything, because you cannot, spoil President Jonathan's image. People know that the man is a liar and the governor of Imo State. So anything he talks against President Jonathan will not be taken seriously. President Jonathan is our president. He's our man any day. He's on the lips of every Imo citizen. He's just wasting time campaigning for APC. That one will not work in Imo State. No matter how much he's planning to rig, they've collected people's PVCs, they've hacked into, we heard they hacked into INEC database, the same APC. So no matter what they do, they cannot snatch victory from President Jonathan by the special grace of God, because he's working with God. He believes that Nigeria is a family. His name even represents what God wants from him. Jonathan from the Bible means gift of God. So Jonathan, Goodluck Jonathan is the gift of good luck to Nigerians at this time. And God will not deviate from that. And it's only God that gives leaders. So any other person is just wasting their time.
And away from that now, the extradition process initiated against a Nigerian who fled to the country after allegedly murdering an 18-year-old Briton in the United Kingdom failed to go ahead as scheduled at the Federal High Court in Abuja. Abdul Kikiriekul is wanted for the murder of one Marcus Hall outside a nightclub in Lipton, England about 14 years ago. The other culprits had been tried and jailed by Kikiriekul had been on the run until his arrest in Lagos. Trial Judge Justice Mohammed adjourned the matter to March 31 and remanded the respondent in Kuje prison after his counsel Salihu asked for a short adjournment because he was served the court processes at short notice. Prosecuting counsel, a quota from the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation, did not object but insist on the suspect transfer from EFCC custody to prison. EFCC said in a statement that the UK police had difficulties tracking Kekeriako down because he frequently disguises himself with about 10 different names. And now operatives of the National Drug Law and Enforcement Agency have arrested a suspected drug courier in Kaduna for alleged possession of 780 bags of Indian hemp weighing 241.9 kilograms. NDLEA State Commandant Samuel Azegi said at a news conference that the agency had been trailing the suspect following an intelligence report on his activities. Samuel added it was more worrisome that the illicit drug was to be distributed within the week the election was to hold before it was shifted.
Certainly it would have been a very colossal destruction that would have done to this country if this Indian hemp had been allowed to go into circulation. This exhibit was supposed to be released into circulation at the week with the election, the general election was to take place in Nigeria. Sometimes the parents don't monitor their movement. When they go out, they mingle with people of different characters and then they introduce them to so many vices.
I finished my secondary school. No money to further my education. I went to the bush to look for a job. So I found them doing it, so I entered into it.
You're still watching CoreTV News at 4. We'll take a short break. We'll be back with more stories. Do join us again.
Every day, every hour, and every minute, news break in Nigeria. Things happen so fast, it's most times difficult to track and comprehend them. But that's what we do right here on Digit 360.
2015, would you want to come back again?
It's like asking Jesus Christ if he knew he was going to die, will you want to come back as the savior of the world again?
We do not just help you track the stories, we break them down, explore all the angles, analyze the issues so that you can fully comprehend the stories and use them to make the right decisions.
For more information on our news and other programs, like our Facebook page is facebook.com/CoreTV News. You can as well follow us at CoreTV News NG. You can also log on to youtube.com/CoreTV, leave a space, then news. And now Ekiti State Governor Ayodele Fayoshi on Friday alleged that the All Progressive Congress presidential candidate Muhammadu Buhari, who traveled to the United Kingdom for a supposed working visit, is in a London hospital. According to him, Buhari is being treated at a hospital located at Cavendish Square, W2, London West End, London. The governor said he had vindicated his earlier stand that Buhari was sick and lacked the required capacity to rule Nigeria. Speaking through his special assistant on public communications and new media, Larry Olayinka, the governor described the claim by the APC that Buhari would give a talk at the Royal Institute of International Affairs, Chatham House, London, as a deceit taken too far. He says he is not mocking Buhari or wishing him dead, but rather to expose the falsehood of the APC and the desperation of its leaders, especially Senator Bola Tinubu, to force another Yaradua saga or Nigeria. The governor challenged the APC to prove him wrong. However, the National Publicity Secretary of the APC, La Mohammed, said his party was not ready to join issues with unserious people, adding that those who are doubting General Buhari's working visit could not be taken seriously and that they should prove it. Meanwhile, presidential candidate of the All Progressive Congress, Muhammad Buhari, has held the first of the consultative meetings in his itinerary in the United Kingdom. Former British Prime Minister Tony Blair was the first personality Buhari had a close-up meeting with as a part of effort to brief key members of the international community on his agenda for Nigeria. The APC candidate was accompanied by two leading members of the opposition party, Ogun State Governor Bikunle Amosun and Senator Bukola Saraki. A party source said Buhari will be holding a series of private meetings with policymakers in the UK to disabuse their minds about his alleged autocratic and Islamist tendencies. And now Lagos State Governor Babajide Fashola has said that his administration has done a lot to improve the living condition of the citizenry. Speaking at an interactive session with State House correspondent at his Marine residence on Friday night, Fashola said that his administration has added value to governance. He described attacks on his administration by the opposition as unfair, insisting that he had done so much to improve the living standard of the people since he assumed office in 2007. According to him, all the sectors of the state economy, including housing, education, and revenue generation, have witnessed significant improvement under his watch as governor. He says he had added value to governance when he took over from his predecessor, Bola Tinubu. He, however, said governance is a continuous process, stressing that it is not a finished job and will never pretend to anybody that the job has finished. The governor described the governorship candidate of the All Progressive Congress, Akil Miambode, as an experienced technocrat capable of moving the state forward. And asked the statement of Lagos State Governor Babajide Fashola on the inability of the Lagos PDP governorship candidate Jimi Agbaje to pay the land use charge of his pharmaceutical firm for some years continues to generate reactions. Fashola says the firm has remitted 500,000 naira out of the alleged over 1 million naira debt. The governor made a disclosure at media interaction with members of the Lagos State Governor's press crew at the Marina Government House. He says the remittance by JK pharmaceutical firm vindicated his earlier statement on the issue.
Same thing with his tax record. First he said JK is not Jimi Agbaje. JK Pharmacy has resigned. Now he has gone to pay 500,000 out of 1.6 million. He's still owing. He published some receipt about a few days ago that this is 500 and something thousand. So it's true now that he was owing 1.6. He's still owing. He must pay because that money belongs to the local government.
Meanwhile, the Lagos State governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Jimi Agbaje, has promised the people of the state that he will deliver an ocean-based economy for the people of the state. He says just like the people of the north and other places relied on their most abundant resources to drive growth, he would drive growth through the ocean, and through that, the addition of value to all activities based around the ocean.
Lagos, through Ekpe and Bejuleki axis, for example, can actually be the national fish processing zone or processing hub for Nigeria. That means that our fishermen don't have to catch fish and sell at any price on the day they catch fish. So you begin to talk about the value chain that is associated. They can store their fish. You begin to make, other things, sardines and things like that. So you begin to process. That is the beginning. From there, you look at the boats that they use. By the time they're able to store their fish, then they need bigger boats. You need to have people who begin to build those boats. So you want to know that in this part of the state, those boats will be built. You're going to use engines. People are going to repair the engines. They're going to talk about trawlers. You're going to talk about fishing nets. So, in diversifying the economy, which is the way forward, we're saying that that is some aspect that we have to look at. And that, in a nutshell, is what the ocean economy is talking about.
Away from that to Edo State, where the multi-billion naira water storm project recently constructed by Edo State government to salvage the perennial flooding within the Benin metropolis is now experiencing setback due to human activities. The project built to convey flood water around the city now grapples with waste and other byproducts from surrounding communities, and if not addressed might endanger those living there. The report.
The General Manager of Waste Management Board, Gillian Ochipu, said the disturbing trend is an act of sabotage and management was looking at ways to put an end to it.
Actually mobilized all our resources, men stopped every other assignment we are doing elsewhere to make sure that we come here to attend quickly to wonder our drains. The evidence is there that the drainage system has become their primary waste evacuation point, and then most of them channeled their drainage system from their homes into the stormwater project. It's a very bad situation.
The Edo State Water Storm Project, initiated by Governor Adams Oshomole, led APC government in the Benin metropolis, was to address erosion and the perennial flooding in the city. The project was said to have gulped more than 30 billion naira under construction in other areas of the city. The government has therefore warned acts of sabotage will not be condoned, adding that the abatement notice will be served anyone who violates the directive. Chairman Edo State Environmental Committee Mokhtar Yusuf, who lamented the extent of human deposits and channeling of sewage to the canals, which he noted could have health implications, observed that an enlightenment campaign will be carried out to arrest this menace.
After so much has been spent, taxpayers' money to construct beautiful canal like this that will actually channel the erosion to save lives and property, then you find out that our people, what the governor has done here, just want to sabotage it without, having to get waste manager to get their refuse. If you can actually take a look, you see people channeling their toilets, the pipes from their toilets into the drain, wastewater from their houses into the drain, and some even tie excreta, poo-poo, put inside the drain. It's so painful in the area, because if you look at it, and if you don't actually, talk to them, first of all, we're going to talk to them. We're going to call them. We're going to enlighten them. If after we've done all that, we've enlightened them, we've, made them see reasons whereby, the drain is for them to protect their properties and all that, then after that one, I think we'll take the next step.
A landlord in the area who spoke in Edo dialect on the disturbing situation said a meeting will be convened to address this ugly trend among landlords and residents in the area in order to forestall the reoccurrence.
You're still watching CoreTV News at 4. We'll take a short break. We'll be back with more stories outside Nigeria. Do stay with us.
From time immemorial, women have birthed life, shaped character, and by extension, influenced the society. Moremi of Ife, Emotan of Benin, Queen Aminat of Zaria, all women of influence and power.
Whether it's before election, after election.
How ironical. Women being so powerful, yet have few grounds in decision making.
They see you as a wife, and I see you as a wife to a man.
We are talking women in politics.
A woman will be bold enough to stand up and say, I want to become president of Nigeria.
Only on CoreTV News.
And outside Nigeria now, the US and UK are considering deeper sanctions against Russia following the recent event in the Ukrainian conflict. Speaking during a visit to London, US Secretary of State John Kerry accused Moscow of craven behavior in its support for the rebels undermining a ceasefire. What a Kremlin spokesman said, sanctions would not help solve Ukraine's crisis. The ceasefire agreed this month in Minsk has often seemed near collapse. Each side accuses the other of multiple breaches of the truce in recent hours. But the rebels announced a prisoner exchange as part of the ceasefire. Between 35 and 39 Ukrainian soldiers and 37 people held by the Ukrainian government are to be freed in the Luhansk region. Meanwhile, an advisor to Ukrainian President Yuri Byrykov said the Ukrainian death toll in last week's battle for the key town of the Vasive was possibly 179, with 81 missing, a much higher figure than previously announced. The rebels took to the strategic transport hub in spite of the ceasefire signed on 12 February against the truce did not apply to the flashpoint, forcing government troops to retreat. The Ukrainian government, Western leaders and NATO say there is clear evidence that Russia is having the rebels in eastern Ukraine with heavy weapons. And soldiers independent expert says that accusation Moscow denies it, insisting that any Russians serving with the rebels are volunteers. Nearly 5,700 people have died since the fighting erupted last April, and some 1.5 million people have fled their homes, according to the UN. Speaking before talks with the UK Foreign Secretary Philip Hammond, Kerry said additional sanctions were on the agenda. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov responded by urging the US and Europe to support the implementation of the Minsk agreements. And it's a wrap on CoreTV News at 4. Many thanks for watching. I am Frank Omalape. Bye for now.